Hello? Is this thing on? Right, brilliant. Okay, it's round one, it's game one, it's FoxTrot in the bottom left here of Blue Shift, and they are up against Goose, who is parked over here in the top right playing as Terran. So, Terran v Zerg on a map like this, what sort of opening do you like to see? It's a good map for a proxy hatchery. Everybody knows I like a proxy hatch, but this map does lend itself to it quite well. It's nice and open at the front here. It's a reasonably standard looking stuff from Goose building the depot up here. Not sure about a second depot. I'd rather have seen a barracks. You're not going to need the supply anytime soon, and you might as well build the barracks because you've got the money to do so. So FoxTrot going to do a little bit of scouting, sending the Overlord out onto the map, which is all very, very normal stuff. Just looking at the pathing of this, hard to see where it's aiming to. It looks to be aiming for this sort of region up here, rather than straight into the men. And when you're playing against Terran, I don't mind that too much, because if the Terran does get a fairly quick marine out, you can lose that first Overlord if you send it too deep. So sometimes preferable to park it somewhere over here with a view to, in about 2 minutes time, suicide running that Overlord in to get some information about what your opponent's doing. So spawning pool going to finish up shortly. Gas already done, so we could have some fairly quick speedlings coming out of FoxTrot here if all goes according to plan. No workers in the gas just yet, not sure about that. Meanwhile in Terran land, hang on, I can't tolerate this. Wait. Mouse, keyboard, where's the mouse zoom? Kill it. Sorry about that. So barracks, second barracks being built here for Goose, so double racks. Nothing coming out of this barracks just yet, and no add-ons in sight, although not quite enough gas for that as yet. Can't help but notice that there's no workers being built here. Goose, anything to say about that? It's all gone quiet over there. This Overlord, as suspected, does look to be heading up into this sort of area, so maybe it's just going to hang out there for a while and see what's up. I think the second Overlord, however, is still parked at home. Wouldn't mind seeing that over on the right-hand side of the map. You know, Terrans love their medevac drops, so if you're a Zerg player, it's pretty standard to get Overlords out to the edges of the map to stop that sort of skirt around in a medevac coming sort of around the edges to try and catch you unawares. So, yeah, spread those Overlords out if you can. Conversely, if you're a Terran player, a very standard thing to do against Zerg is to build a single Viking once you've got your starport up, and just send that out onto the map to clean up these Overlords. So send a Viking out to just gun these down and sort of blind your opponent, basically. So the reactor on both the barracks, so that's an interesting choice. I think I'd have rather seen one reactor, one tech lab, but double reactor, you know, presumably we're about to see a serious spamming of the A button, and oh, there it is, look, and a whole queue of Marines. But the answer to Marines is in this structure that is building. The Baneling nest almost done, and Marines just die to Banelings so hard. So, you know, unless you've got godlike micro, it is very, very hard to win against Banelings when you've played Marines, assuming there's enough Banelings. So yeah, here we are. I'm gonna zoom out a little bit because I can. So FoxTrot has got the expand up. No workers here yet. No queen building there yet either. So I'd like to see the queen. Pretty normal to very shortly after getting this hatched on to get a third as well if you're playing Zerg, because your economy probably will support it. You've got the money in the bank for that hatchery, and once you're mining off 2 bases, you essentially need 3 hatcheries in order to... Whoa, is it just me, or is the music just a little bit overwhelming there? I don't know, hang on. That was a bit intense for a second there. Let's get rid of that. Yeah, it's not better, is it? It's not better. Music, just right. Yeah, you need 3 hatcheries to provide you with enough larvae to spend the money that you get off 2 hatcheries mining. So, you know, getting the third done serves sort of 2 purposes. One, when you are ready to start mining off a third set of minerals, you've already got the hatchery there. And 2, it just gives you those extra larvae, which means that you can start cranking out units. You can also saturate this base much, much quicker off 3 hatches. Okay, so Lair is being built, and that will enable the Baneling speed, which is a very, very good upgrade if you're playing against Stim Marines. If you are the Terran player and you want to counter those Banelings, there's a few things you can do. Widow Mines are excellent against Banelings, but really it's Marauders with Concussive Shell just give you the ability to micro against Banelings. So a couple of Marauders in the mix, the Concussive Shell slows the Banelings down, gives you the time to split your units and to pull them back to avoid getting blasted by acid or whatever it is that comes out of a Baneling. So bunker right at the back here, it's like Goose is anticipating that the Lings will get past his outer defenses. I'm going to build the bunker here for when they arrive. Why not here and try and keep them out? Build the bunker here. As the Lings come in, if they're A-click, they'll attack the bunker. That gives you plenty of time to raise the ramp. And if it's here, then the Lings at the top of the ramp are still within range of it. So there's no chance that they're going to be able to run past and get up into your base. Anyway, here they come. There's enough Marines here to deal with this. These Lings are not going to get anything done. No speed done either for the Lings. So all they're going to get is a look around. Oh, speed just finishing up now. I don't know about that timing. Why not just wait for the extra sort of 10 seconds and wait for speed to finish up before you run in. So the Lings get inside the base, don't really get as much of a look around as I would have liked to have seen. With those 3 Lings, you were never going to kill anything, but you absolutely could have got deep enough to see this factory and to see that there isn't a starport yet. And that's useful information. If you know there's no starport, you know there's no medevacs about to dump things into your base, you know that you don't have to be building spore crawlers and that sort of stuff, and that's always handy and convenient to know. I mean, this spine crawler is utterly redundant until there are medevacs, because to be honest, if the Marines have come into your base and they've got this deep, well, they've already killed all of this stuff, and this spine crawler is the only thing you've got left. So Tech Lab on the factory is going to allow siege tanks to be built, and siege tanks of course are brilliant against roughly everything apart from air, and it is unfortunately air that we're going to see, but nevertheless siege tanks are just fantastic. Good units, units defensively, good units even offensively. If you could just leapfrog them forwards with the splash damage they do, they're excellent against Lings, they're excellent against Banelings. So long as they've got some support, you've got to keep the Lings off them, and of course you've got to keep the Mutalisks away from them. So this Overlord that's parked here does kind of know that this location's being mined from. But I wouldn't mind seeing it parked up here. If you put it above the center of this counts as high ground, and these units won't be able to see it until there is something in the air to give them vision of that. Right, so a couple of spine crawlers at the front door. That is all pretty normal stuff. It's sometimes pretty normal as well to build things like evolution chambers here and put your queens in. But that would be more common to do against a fellow Zerg player. But yeah, nothing wrong with a bit of defensive structure. Not yet saturated in this base, still only 12 of 16, and oversaturated here. I don't know about that. There's larvae waiting to do stuff, and there's money in the bank. So hold down the D button, get these gases saturated, and get your production up and running. Research is what's happening here. There's research going on. The Spire has been up for some time, but we haven't seen any air units be built as yet. And I don't really know about that. For me, a Zerg against Terran, I'm probably not going to build Corruptors against Terran. Maybe later in the game I might, but the first thing I would do with the Spire is get maybe 8 to 10 Mutalisks out and just annoy my opponent, get in round the back of the base, kill workers, pick off tech labs, those types of things. And you can get a lot of value from your Mutalisks. 10 Mutalisks cost you 1,000 minerals, 1,000 gas, but you can definitely do that damage and more with those. And more importantly, they're so quick, they're such quick units, you can get in, and while you're doing that damage, you get a full scout of everything that your opponent is doing. You get to see everything, and that's really important. The other thing you do is you keep your opponent's Marines at home. If they're fending off Mutalisks, they're not up in your face killing your stuff. The other thing those mutalisks achieve is, you know, the stock response if you're a Terran and the mutas turn up is you grab a couple of workers and you throw down some turrets. Well, straight away those turrets are costing you 150 each. So, you know, if you've built 2 in each mineral line, straight off the bat that's 600 mineral spend. Add that to the workers that get killed and you very quickly recoup the cost of those mutalisks. So I'd like to see some mutas on the map is the short version of that. These 3 guys just chilling. Just, I don't know. They're actually looking. They're watching. These are they don't look at. You can't tell from the skins, but these are actually bosses. These are like team leaders or something, and they're just watching the work happening here and making sure it all goes according to plan. So the third is about to finish up. And we do have little guys in the gas. So looking at the income tab, Goose quite far behind on the gas income there. Quite a stark difference there for our Terran player. Now that's fine if you're doing an insanely marine heavy build. But you do want to be able to crank out medevacs and stuff. So why is that? Why are we so far behind on gas? There's why, 1 and 0. So definitely a few more workers need to be built here by Goose, or workers transferred into these gases. The planetary fortress, fine. Planetary fortresses are good. I wouldn't generally build one in the natural. You know, normally you're in good shape to defend your own natural. If you can't defend your own natural, you're in trouble generally. But your third or your fourth, then planetaries are fantastic for that. As an alternative, if you want to play a sort of eco style where you're going to turtle up as Terran and play very defensively, build an orbital command here and throw down a planetary here right on the front, because they are remarkably tough things. They're, you know, 1500 life, but they're also armored. They also do an awful lot of damage. So a planetary at the front as a defensive structure is an awesome thing, and it can build SCVs, so it helps you speed up how quickly you can saturate your third. So planetaries are good as defensive structures, but I think I'd rather see an orbital command here because, you know, this is an area that you should be able to defend pretty more straightforwardly. Once you're expanding here, then by all means a planetary. 2 sort of avenues of attack into this zone. Hello. So this is about to pop. These Nidus networks are fantastic things, and you can do a lot with a Nidus network. This one, the position of it, all this is really going to allow is quick transfer of units backward and forward across the map. I would have much preferred this Overlord to creep a little bit closer and that Nidus network to appear here. You know, the noise that it makes when it comes out, all the players get to hear that. So, you know, Goose gets to hear that and hopefully knows that that means a Nidus network has opened. I'm not sure if he does know that because, you know, if I hear that sound, the first thing I do is check the corners of my own base and start to panic and get a bit sweaty. But I'm not so sure Goose has done that. Let's check. You know, I don't think he's looked in this corner. So you could have been just unloading Benlings here and just rolling them into this mineral line for all sorts of quality damage. Anywho, a massive bank here for the Zerg player. So what do you do if you find yourself in this position? If you look up in the top right corner and you go, oh my goodness, I've got a lot of money, what should I do? There's a few ways you can deal with that. I'll tell you later. It's all about to kick off. Let's check these guys out. They are +1. +1 attack, no armor upgrades just yet. No stim, because that lack of a tech lab at home means there's no stim, and similarly no combat shields. So these are pretty squishy Marines. They do have the medevacs, that's going to help a lot, but that is a significant number of siege tanks. So what has the Zerg got that is going to deal with that? At present, not enough, not nearly enough. These corruptors aren't going to take part in the fight. I mean, they might absorb some fire parked there before the rest of the stuff arrives. Isn't a great position for them. They're going to pick off. Oh no, the Hydras aren't even shooting. It's horrible. Oh no. So yeah, the Zerg just didn't have enough, not even close to enough. And what they needed really was the Banelings. The Baneling nest has been finished for a long time. You had some Lings, you had a big old and this poor guy isn't even shooting. He doesn't know where he's going. Neither does he. He's trying to just get past. Excuse me, coming through. Excuse me. No excuse me. We're the bad guys. We shoot you in the face. Yeah, so a shambles really in the end from FoxTrot. It all looked so good earlier. There was tech happening, there was a spire, look, there's a hive, there's all sorts of good things. There's the Ultralisk Cavern. But in the end, there just weren't units. There was just all of this money and no units. Benlings could have made such a big difference to that fight, a huge difference. You know, with Benling speed, if those lings that we saw on the map had been turned into Benlings, those squishy Marines would have died so quickly. It would have been vile, and the only thing left would have been the siege tanks, and that's when the Mutalisks pop out and just pick those off. Thank you very much, job done. Anyway, that's not what happened, so GG.